a company called Caring Transitions. She does ever so many things that you may not need today or you're contemplating today. Actually, Neil and Sharon are going to be people who are going to just love hearing what you have to say and do. So, Michele McGregor, thank you for being here. Welcome aboard, and it's your turn.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Really great presentation, Karen. Like fabulous. So yeah, I could talk all day about that too, but I'll talk a bit about us. We are a total solution provider, and we offer customized solutions and options for anyone who is relocating, downsizing, or needing to liquidate an estate. Our company's been around nationally for about 16 years, and here in the desert, we're going into our 4th year. And I just need to see my slides. I think I have very kind Tyler bringing them up, so that's great. Thank you very much. So today we're going to talk about some tips to help with some of the home transition pitfalls or things that we run into. So go ahead, Tyler, you can go to the next slide. So some of the pitfalls that we face, you know, the emotional side of it, uncertainty, fear, isolation, feeling overwhelmed, and lots of questions. So you may have all of them, you may have other ones, but at least hopefully I think one of them or two may resonate with folks when we're in that place. And I think one of the hardest things is making choices about all aspects of our living environment, the logistics around the move and what kind of supports we're going to need. And individuals and their caregivers, you know, can often be faced with making decisions that are not what we, you know, want to do, but what we need to do for the individual or even ourselves. And these emotional transitions definitely have layers and stages to them. The physical part is the logistical part that we all can kind of understand, the packing and the organizing and all of that. But we need to also acknowledge feelings that are compounded that can often, you know, be processed as grief and loss as we imagine familiar surroundings changing. So next slide. So how to avoid pitfalls, you know, of transition. These are a couple of key points, and I'll speak to them a bit further. There's many ways to find out about what services are available. You can go online. The Parkinson's Resource Wellness Village is a boatload of resources and wealth of information that, you know, if they can't help, then they certainly will find someone who can. We've got Council on Aging, we've got some senior centers, and we've got many other resources that we can link people to. Ask for assistance when and if you need it, or even if you don't need it, you just want to get some information. There's many free and fee-for-service resources that can get you to the right place. It's really important not to rely on hearsay or friends or neighbors or that kind of thing, because they may be speaking about an experience they or a family member maybe had a period of time ago, or may not have all of the facts. So it's just important to get that information from the source. And again, once you found a few resources that you want to explore, you can phone or get in contact with them directly about the services they offer and how they work. Don't be afraid to take notes, ask questions, and have someone with you who can be part of the conversation. There's lots of information that is usually shared, and it can be really overwhelming. And we always encourage people to have someone with you when you're exploring these options. And once you've determined that you want to meet with one or a few of any organization that you want to engage in helping you, you know, have me come and meet them. And the consultation should be complimentary. It allows the service provider to view your living space and discuss options with you. And if there is any fee associated with your consultation, you should understand, you know, what that is, why it is, and kind of what it entails. Next slide, please. So some references and fact checking, all of these things are some pitfalls that we need to think about. A reputable company should offer references or provide them upon request. they should be able to provide information or some context about the work they've done, some sort of neutral examples that actually demonstrates they've, been kind of on the front line dealing with different scenarios and situations. And you can also look at Google reviews, you can look at testimonials. Again, companies should be very transparent in sharing with you ways that they can provide solutions for you. Costs, of course, are always a consideration, and the cheapest company may not always be the best choice. It's really important, and again, through that initial dialogue of asking questions and coming up with some solutions, it's important that you understand the scope of the work and the steps that are, required. Think about what your time is worth. There should be a dialogue on all the steps so that it will take to offer any particular scope of work or support that you need. And, you have to kind of think about, do you want help with that? Do you have other help with it? It's just, again, gathering all the information. And for us, our company, we do provide customized solutions based on, need and budget. And, again, this whole goal of engaging help is to reduce your stress. And if you do, require other supports or any other information along the way, once you've decided on a plan and some support, again, it's really important that whoever you engage consults with you throughout the process. And if there's any unforeseen issues, delays, costs, whatever, they should get your approval before proceeding. Transparency and communication is really critical. Ethical practices, reputable companies that deal with vulnerable people or vulnerable situations do need to adhere to a code of conduct within their industry. And that, again, is another question to ask, do you have a code of conduct? What, license or accreditation do you have? Same goes for any other, charities or other providers. Just be aware of services and any hidden fees that may or may not be applicable. Licensure and accreditation, in addition to the code of conduct, companies should have appropriate licensure and accreditation, and of course, insurance. They should be able to provide proof of that at your request, or even voluntarily. I mean, we always, that's our practice to always produce it. Again, if it's not voluntarily presented, then you should ask for it. For us, our company, we are certified and accredited by the United States Council on Aging and Alzheimer Care. And it's a governing body that ensures that we have the appropriate training and that we adhere to all standards of care and conduct within our industry. Next slide, please. So again, reputable companies during that initial visit will ask you questions to best understand your situation and need. They'll meet you at where you're at versus, kind of pushing to perhaps another objective or agenda. And that's what you should be looking for. For us, our difference is that we do definitely understand that this is more than a transactional event in one's life. It's transformational because there's lots of moving parts. And the other key point that I want to make on this slide is that we always ask in our consultations about who's involved in the decision-making process. We want to be certain that the individual or individuals in the decision-making have the competency and awareness to make sure that decisions are made in the individual's best interest. We don't ever proceed if that's not clear. Even in the consultation, we will suggest that we need to rebook the meeting and, ask if they have any supports versus, again, plowing ahead with the meeting. I also want to mention that the Parkinson's Resource Organization also promotes having a power of attorney in place in advance. And there is an invaluable resource, the elder law attorney, Mr. Bill Remery, in the Pro Wellness Village. So again, resources available to make sure and ensure that you and your loved ones are protected. And that's our top priority. Next slide, please. How we work with other service providers. So we have a lot of different multidisciplinary professionals who refer clients to us at various stages in the process. And again, not everyone needs to get a total solution support. It may be, this year you're looking at sorting and organizing and just looking at, what you actually have. And then it might be another year or two before you need to make other decisions or get other services. These are just some of our referral partners, and each one has a different role and objective in your transition. And as we are certified and accredited professionals, we do work collaboratively with these professionals to ensure that the experience is seamless for you. So again, we want to make sure your realtor is not, having to struggle. We want the realtor to feel that he's supported or she's supported, that, every aspect of the estate and trust attorneys are supported. So we always make sure that we become kind of a seamless integration with the group of professionals that you may be bringing in or already have in place. Next slide, please. So our services, just a little bit about that. Again, our consultations are always free. Everything is customized. So when someone says, well, what do you charge for moving? Well, all the variables that go into that are things like volume and density of items and where people are at. So there's lots of questions around that. And we try to educate people and empower them to make some informed decisions about this is why you're getting this is what this entails, and this is allowing you to make a decision about whether you want that support, need it, or want to do it yourself, in fact. So some of the other things that we offer, again, is relocation support. So we'll do the sorting and organizing, the packing. We often work with assisted living communities for floor planning, because we all get attached to things and we think, oh gosh, I'm going from whatever 4,000 square feet to 900 square feet. And, we want to bring all of our favorite things. So often we'll work with the assisted living or even independent living communities to map out, the floor plan and show you where your furniture can be placed and all of that good stuff. We do the move, and we also can set up a home. So we've done that for lots of clients where they just don't want to unpack boxes and deal with all that stuff. So we basically make sure that they can sleep in their own bed the first night there, and the rest is set up simultaneously in coordination with where you're moving to and any family or friends that are involved as well. So we really make it seamless and efficient. The downsizing support. So again, there'll be many times people have things that they either want to sell or donate or need to be disposed. So we manage all of that. If people have a charity of choice, we'll coordinate donation pickup. If they don't, we have relationships with some charities that we know and trust that have been vetted that we can recommend. We also, again, work with realtors to stage homes for listing, and we also can complete the clean out to leave the home clear. So before the new owner takes possession, call it kind of in the industry broom swept or even more industrially cleaned, we can leave that home pristine when you leave it. We also work with estate and trust attorneys and fiduciaries, and in those situations, we are trained to follow the protocol that's required around personal property inventory, market evaluations, and other liquidation solutions. Again, documentation, transparency, photographs, all of this, evidence-based professional approach is not only required by these professionals, but we're trained to be able to do that to support the family and loved ones, and of course the service provider. We also offer liquidation services. So we do estate sales, and we also have an online auction platform called CT Bids. And so again, those auctions sometimes are used alone or in combination. We have many gated communities here, and also through COVID, having online options has been a really nice solution for a lot of people. And then lastly, we do some concierge solutions. So these can be unique things or special need requests. We had a gentleman recently who had two baby grand pianos, well, one full size and one baby grand, and he needed them properly coordinated and shipped to two different locations. So there was some logistics around all of that. And so, that's just an example of some of the things we can do. And next slide. So I just want to share a quick case study, kind of an example of, I don't want to say every client is unique, but, an example that's pretty, just relatable. We had a client's daughter contact us. The daughter lives in Texas. Her sister lives here, but, the siblings really overwhelmed to help her parents who also have a home here. This daughter in Texas is the one that's kind of in charge to take care of some of the needs of the mom passed away at the time of the call. A year during, when she called, and the father's health had changed such that he couldn't live in the family home alone. The parents had lived in the family home for over 30 years. And the scenario was that not only did the siblings have to deal with the contents of the home, but they also were navigating, getting the right supports in place for their father, some through distance, some through here. And again, I always, when I speak to clients and their support systems is, everyone has different capacity. And just because, they can't maybe do some parts of this doesn't mean they can't be involved in other parts, but it's just really important to kind of know again, who is, the decision maker and what level of support is needed or required. In this case, the sister who was going to be or was in charge in this situation, she was coming here to the desert to the family home for only a set period of time. She had to take time off of work, which is often what we see. People who are taking their own, time away from their life. They have to come and organize things. And then we booked a consultation with her. And at that time, when we went there to the home, the client and her sister were there. And we discussed, we asked a lot of questions. We discussed the needs, the timeline, what was happening with, their father, just all the notes and details that we needed to know up front to find out how we could support them and what the solutions or options we could offer. We also talked about what was happening in the marketplace, which is sort of the logistical side of this, because again, we get attached to things. They, generate a lot of emotion for us, memories, that sort of thing. And so we have to sometimes manage expectations around, just selling stuff isn't always the best solution. And so again, we want to inform people so that they can make the best decision. So in this case, the client disclosed that they'd already interviewed another estate sale company and they already had sold about $1,000 worth of items. They were really happy that they got cash up front, but then they found out later that the company resold the items at a higher price at another estate sale. So they essentially found out that, they lost money actually, even though they said it was great to have the money up front. And so, we discussed options for selling the other items, and they basically, we landed on having a physical estate sale because the home was not in a gated community. And so we again followed up with a written proposal. All of the summary of what we discussed during the consultation is actually put in paper for people to read. And the other part of the discussion, I'll just kind of accelerate this, is that the sisters also indicated, well, we're not going to really need help with any further sorting and organizing. You guys just focus on getting the sale looking pretty, stage the items, do some pricing for us, and we're going to go through the rest of the home and the garage and have that all cleaned out before you even, come back. And so we said, okay, well, we're coming back in, 6 days. You got this. That's great. So of course, I shouldn't say of course, but in this situation, we did go back, of course, to start the project for the estate sale. And what ended up happening is, basically everything was as it was when we were last there. The sisters ended up having some conflict, unfortunately. They really couldn't get through working through it. They lost a lot of time. And so, through that, emotions do run high, and we are really that neutral party to help navigate and, quite frankly, neutralize the situation. It's a place where our background and our training really helps, because we're offering support, but we're not crossing boundaries. We're not crossing, clinical boundaries, pretending to be counselors, but we're also not crossing any boundaries about, the integrity of these relationships. Just understanding there's a lot of moving parts, and we have to manage logistics and emotions at the same time. And, these things like emotions and memories and history, they all come up at the most unexpected times. And so we acknowledge that. And I think just even that release for them was part of their processing and in a way part of moving through some of the grief. And just as an added touch, some of the things that we really like to do, in this case, the daughters were very close to their mom, and we asked what the mom's favorite flowers were. So we made sure that white orchids were placed throughout the home on the sale day. And we felt that that was really important to remember and honor the mom and just feel her spirit in the home on that day. There turned out to be a really good sale turnout, and the outcome was, profitable for the client, and they basically were able to offset some of the costs of the move with some of the proceeds. So, again, just different layers to this. Thank you for letting me share that, because each case, even though there's similar nuances, every single family, every single individual is unique, and everybody's at a different place and stage in the process.
So let me add on a little bit to that, Michelle, because you've covered everything so well. So this is for people who are going from a big house to a little house, or from a big house to or
a little house to a big house, or yes,
or to an assisted living.
Yeah.
This is or going from a house with stairs to a house that is a flat house instead, so the stairs are not an issue. This is about packing and unpacking, which can be absolutely over the top with stress. This is about liquidating and donating, because liquidating can be really not only stressful, but and who knows where to go to find these things. And then, and this is also about getting to the timeline of where you need to be by when. So there's a lot of organization skills that are coming here. But there's something that I'm not sure that you covered in the discussion today, Michelle, and I know that you can help. People with Parkinson's, sometimes living alone or when they live alone, happen to have a tendency to have clutter around them. This is not something that they typically were used to in their other, when before they got Parkinson's. But they now seem to have clutter, or it almost appears as if they're hoarding, but they're not. They can't move the way they used to. And so consequently, there are things that are left unfiled, unput away, whatever. You can help with that, I'm rather sure. And here, Tyler, could you